This is my Yashica 24, originally used as a crime scene camera by police. It eventually found its way into my hands. Cameras have been manufactured for a long time now, over 100 years, so it makes sense to get passed down from owner to owner. In essence, they're just a tool to take images, no different to a screwdriver being a tool for construction. So whether it was a family camera that was passed down to you like this coronet that used to be my grandpa's, or picking up a camera from a charity shop and still having the original handbook and receipts, every camera tells a unique story. We commonly associate cameras telling stories through the images they take. A war photographer documents a conflict with his lens. But the battle scars left behind on the camera itself tell a completely unique story. They tell a completely different story of the conflict, like Don McCillin's Nikon F that may have saved his life when it stopped a stray bullet. Bill Bigot was one of the only photographers to lose their life during the September 11th attacks and died doing what he loved with his cameras. These cameras tell his story about documenting the immediate aftermath of 9/11. Bigot was vocal about his love for New York City, and his commitment to the city was evident with every shutter cycle that Tuesday morning. His cameras and photo press card pulled from the rubble 4 days after the attack serve as a reminder of that day, his last image being dated at 10/28/24, moments before the collapse of the second tower. These cameras covered in rubble and dust tell his story and serve as a monument to his life. In a recent exhibition of Vivian Maier's work at Fotografiska's museum in New York City, her cameras were displayed alongside her images. And I find that to be a really interesting choice, especially considering her story. Also, thank you to @streetphotogeek on Instagram for sending me some of these images. They're really cool and I wouldn't know about this exhibition if it wasn't for him. Check him out in the description. Maier's story is one of obscurity. Her work wasn't known about during the majority of her living life. She left behind thousands of negatives and undeveloped rolls of film. But since the discovery of Maier's work, everything she touched is now a relic and it wants to be documented, and it's important now. We hold the cameras she used on a pedestal and display it among her work, but if this was any other photographer who was forgotten, her cameras would have just been passed down from generation to generation. We wouldn't know the story that camera held and what came before. Bernice Palmer's Box Brownie number 2A Model B is very similar to my Box Brownie. However, her camera captured the iceberg that sunk the Titanic and the RMS Carpathia's rescue effort. This camera is no different to any of the other Box Brownies I've seen in antique stores collecting dust, apart from a 17-year-old girl was in the right place at the right time, documenting history. And now that camera is forever immortalized behind glass and is in museums. We hold an intrinsic value on items we consider rare, the demand for them determining the value. The first ever Leicas to be produced or the Hasselblad that was sent to the moon are unique one-of-one items, and it makes sense that they were auctioned off for high value. They tell a deep story of a key part of history, but why can't every camera hold its own story, even if it's just a personal one? My dad often tells me about the Zenit E he owned when he was younger, and I have similar models but not the exact same camera, which is a shame. It's kind of like an honor of passage, handing down your camera you used to your child to keep on being used for more memories to tell a new story. I personally would hold that Zenit E at a higher value than anybody else, but why would nobody else hold this camera at a high value just because it might tell a different story? Similar to my grandpa's coronet, it shoots a format that is mainly discontinued. It's a cheap plastic injection mold, but it holds a deep personal value. I'll circle back to my TLR from the beginning. This was used as a crime scene camera. The lens cases have a W and a T carved into them, probably for the convenience of use from the crime scene investigators. I wonder what things this camera has seen during its service, how it was auctioned off to its next owner, and then how it eventually came to me. Who's gonna own this camera next? Will I pass it down through family? I can't see myself selling it. I look at other cameras I own, like the Nikon F2 where the paint is all chipped around the top, revealing the really nice brass underneath. How did that happen? How much wear has that camera been through? What has that camera seen? Similar to my Pentax ME, the hinges and the battery door all have human scratches and indents on them. I picked this camera up from a charity shop in a professional case with multiple lenses. Who was the photographer who owned this before, who decided to just give it up and give it to a charity shop? At the end of the day, these are human stories I'm giving inanimate objects. Maybe I'm just being overly sentimental, but that is a very human thing to do. If we view the camera as a tool that we use to take images, how is it any different than one of my dad's favourite screwdrivers? Well, it isn't, and I cherish both, and they both have personal meaning to me. But to any onlooker or viewer, they just are another tool. They don't have a story behind them. One of my favourite things is when I get comments on this channel, people telling me about the cameras they use, how they got them, their experience. It's so nice to hear people's stories with the analog medium. Finally, I will talk about this lens. I was in Whitby on holiday the other month and I dropped this and I've cracked the front element. It hasn't affected the lens in any negative way. It still works completely fine and doesn't appear on video when I use it. but I've still imprinted it with a very human indent. It will forever tell the story of me slipping down a ramp at the beachfront in Whitby and dropping my camera and cracking my lens. Just how my body tells the same story with the scar on my elbow from it. This was an interestingly put together video. I think I'm doing this more as like a mini series on my channel now where I kind of just ramble about something about cameras that I think I like. It's not a really high edited video essay like my square format video, but it still has a level of articulation that I'm happy with. Am I being over the top and annoying, putting personification on cameras? Probably yes, but I'm a sentimental person, is something I will do. And I love all my cameras. It's one of the reasons I like collecting analog film cameras, not just to use them, but also the stories they tell. Thank you for watching me ramble. As always, if you liked the video, like and subscribe. It really means a lot. I'm working on a magazine at the moment, so if you want to hear more about that, follow my Instagram, linked in the description below. Thanks for watching, and Matt out.